David Rocco never fails to remind his hungry and enthusiastic television fans that he is not a chef. He is full-on Italian, which fuels his passion for cooking. When he was a boy, his Italian mama rarely put peanut butter and jelly in his lunch kit, more like spaghetti and meatballs or a tortellini surprise. David Rocco lives his sweet life between Toronto and Italy. His new cookbook/travel guide is called Made in Italy. A few weeks ago, the host of Food Network's Dolce Vita visited Studio 4. Here is our conversation.
Good morning.
What do I say? Va bene?
Va bene.
Va bene, sì.
Are you Sicilian?
No. I wish. I so wish. I go to Sicily, I think I am Sicilian.
Good for you. Yeah. It's a great country. Dysfunctional, but great.
Of course.
Yes.
Yes. And, well, dysfunctional is a good word.
Yeah, but I say wonderfully dysfunctional. And because you're there and you just shake your head and say, I can't believe this. And then you end up being addicted to that kind of craziness and that wonderful kind of sensuality and beauty and food and the people, and it's, yeah.
And that pasta, as Sophia Loren said, everything you see, I owe to pasta.
Right. Absolutely, yeah.
So,
or the second quote, Italians have two things on their mind, and the second is spaghetti.
Right. Does the first one start with
I don't know.
S?
I don't know. Maybe Berlusconi actually made that
Perhaps.
quote.
It starts with S, it ends with X, and there's an E in the middle.
Right.
I bet. Did I ding, ding,
We're
ding?
veering off, right?
Okay, always.
Okay.
Always. You're made in Canada, however.
I am made in Canada. Both my folks are Italian, so, you know, the DNA and the blood is Italian.
So the first trip to Italy for you, you're 6.
Yes. Was hard. It was hard because we grew up in a very Anglo-Saxon, waspy neighborhood. We were the token immigrants, and I was always embarrassed to be Italian, you know, because my dad would take my brand new hockey stick, cut him in 3, and it was, you know, going to be in the garden holding up his tomatoes. Right. Our, you know, pet was a rabbit, which would be on our table weeks later. It was tough, and so, of course, you know, at that age, you just want to fit in, and I remember going to Italy and just not wanting to go, wanting really to stay and play baseball and soccer and just be with, you know, summer holidays with my friends. Going there, it was just an incredible awakening.
Really?
A, because I loved food, and I think as, you know, a youngster and being able to experience unbelievable food that back in the 70s we weren't, you know, accustomed to having in Toronto or probably in Canada, because now, you know, the world's opened up, olive oil, mozzarella di bufala, all that great stuff we have available. And so I remember that first cherry tomato with a buffalo mozzarella and having it. I mean, I was 6. I was like, okay, I know what I want to do for the rest of my life. Just eat.
That's a blessing.
Absolutely.
Just eat and eat Italian.
Yes, yes. And, you know, and I also remember going into a sea with my cousin and, you know, bringing pails and finding tellini, little clams. And my aunt coming back, my aunt making us a little spaghetti with clams. And it was just magical.
One of the New York food writers said the litmus test for any good Italian restaurant is to order the vongole, the clam linguine. Right. And if they do that right, and if the clams are fresh, you know they can make other things like carbonara.
Right, carbonara, absolutely.
Now tell me about carbonara. Yeah. It's Made in Italy, the cookbook, but it's really, you say, bacon and eggs on spaghetti.
Kind of. I mean, it's fun. I mean, there's that whole, you know, there's that story that the Italians made it for the American soldiers. They were craving some comfort food. They wanted bacon and eggs, and, you know, what do Italians do best? They make pasta.
Sure.
And so they created this dish. And really, I think that's interesting because there's Italians are very imaginative when it comes to food, and they have this ability to turn things into, you know, simple ingredients into really wonderful meals.
And the American soldiers taught the Italians how to play baseball.
Well, not very well, apparently.
Not very well, but there's that great Dave Badini book called Baseballissimo, and it's true.
Love it.
The American soldiers wanted to play baseball, so they taught the Italians, and the Italians played the baseball, and on it goes. But you know what they had in the dugout? Espresso.
Right, absolutely, with a little bit of grappa, I'm sure.
Of course, and they weren't spitting tobacco.
No.
No. So, of all the places in Italy you go, and you do live the sweet life, and you go to the Sicily too, where is it that is your place? Or is there a place that is your place, your family's place?
Well, we have a family home in Florence,
Of course you do.
And Florence is beautiful, but it's actually lost a bit of charm in the last 10 years.
How so?
Well, the city itself has imposed certain rules. So parking is a disaster. A lot of the locals, the Fiorentini, have moved out, and so you have a lot of Americans, tourists, Canadians, which is fine. But you go there to experience Italian life, and you hear English, and you hear young students, and so there's that, it's missing. Like Rome, for example, in Trastevere, you still have that Romano, that a Roman kind of feel with the sheets hanging and people yelling and oh Gianni, ma che fai, and all that craziness and wonderful aromas, that kind of trail in the street. And in Florence, I've seen it kind of just slow down, or at least kind of change into more of a commercial, touristy.
Really? Yeah. So Firenze has lost a bit of the magic, not all of the magic, because they still have that steak, I bet.
Yes, the Fiorentina, the bistecca Fiorentina. And
what does that mean?
Well, it's a cut. It's a big porterhouse, and there's a good friend of mine in Panzano called Dario Cecchini, and Jamie Oliver's visited him, and Anthony Bourdain, and he has this great butcher shop where he sings and recites Dante.
Oh, stop.
And then he has this little burger joint above called Macdario's. It's a bunless burger. It's basically meatloaf, but the way he does it, and it's just amazing. Come on, you're getting me hungry. Basta, stop.
Well, I understand. Quanto basta is your philosophy, which means what?
It means as much as you need, as much as you want, but it's also being respectful. And to me, it's a philosophy on life. So when growing up and loving food, and I always had this connection with the old ladies, the nanas and all that, because they were the ones that would feed me, right? And it's like, And so often I would ask them, even friends of the family, I would say, how do you make the zabaglione, or how do you do this? And she'd say, a little bit of this and a little bit of, yeah, but how much? Quanto basta? As much as you need. It's like, don't ask me this silly question. It's like, we'll look at it when it's ready, when it looks like it's good.
Sure,
taste it.
We were raised in a 1 tablespoon. Well, you weren't, but I was raised in a 1 tablespoon, 1.5 teaspoon world.
Yeah,
really.
And thank God I wasn't raised like that. I certainly don't color within the lines. Maybe that's being Italian. And it's interesting because with my first book, Dolce Vita, I had this struggle with my publisher, who I love, but there was this back and forth because they was like, yeah, but you have to put ingredients. You have to put, not ingredients, you have to put measurements, precise measurements. And I'm like, but it doesn't work. It's just, and I was, communicating this whole quanto basta theory. I said, well, if you put a little bit more, it's not going to ultimately change the dish. And in fact, you're going to give freedom to the reader to make the recipe their own. And I'm not a chef, so these recipes are really a simple assembly. And I want the the reader to take that authority and make those dishes.
Well, the best cooks I know do add and change it up. I know you like rabbit.
Yeah.
Dare we tell the world that?
I think now it's okay.
You like those little bunnies.
Yes, and interestingly enough, my daughter Emma, when she was younger, I used to call her Emma Bunny. And so
you dedicated the book to Emma Bunny.
Well, Emma Bunny and Georgie Girl. Yeah, Georgia. Yeah, are twin daughters. And interestingly enough, Emma's first meat that she ever had was rabbit because it's extremely healthy.
Well, and lean and all of that. Look at those girls. My. Now, you have a dish in here, an Emma Bunny dish and a Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia loves her polenta. And it's a great dish because polenta is something that the kids can stir. I really believe getting my daughters in the kitchen early because, at that, they're 3.5 right now, and they discriminate over color, texture, just like any 3.5-year-old.
Sure.
And so I find that when they cook with me, when they're stirring and getting involved in the kitchen, they will sit down and eat with us and want to eat because, Mommy, Daddy, look what I made.
Well, if you're from Montana, polenta is cornmeal mush.
Yes, of course. It sounds way better, polenta.
I know. Polenta, way better than cornmeal mush in a can, sliced, fried. You know what I mean. We'll come back with David Rocco, Made in Italy. It's a beautiful cookbook. It's also a travel book.
For sure, absolutely.
As you open it up and you think, am I in Sicily? Am I on the Amalfi Coast? Am I in the middle of Tuscany somewhere? Looking over the poppies, something
if nothing
like
else, the recipes, the photography will encourage you to go to Italy.
No kidding. Who took these pictures?
Francesco Lastrucci, a dear friend, a wonderful photographer, and we go out for 6 weeks and we travel Italy and have a blast.
I bet you do.
Yeah.
When we come back, we'll go truffle hunting.